right. And we're live. Hey, you two. Let's see. Pull up the stream on my phone. I'm going to talk a little bit about my Odyssey2 collection. That's okay. Just give this a little wipe there. So, yeah. If anybody hops on, I can answer comments and questions. Otherwise, this will be pretty quick, and then I'll do like another scheduled stream at some point when people can actually watch and be able to ask questions and stuff. But let's take a look at my Odyssey2 collection. First of all, let's move these out of the way. These are protectors for Odyssey2 games. They could probably work for other games too. I don't use these. I got these with some Odyssey2 games that I bought, and I meant to throw them in as an extra bonus with the extra Odyssey2 games I had that I sold on eBay a couple of months back. I forgot to. So now I have them. I am not going to use them. Like, I actually play my Odyssey2 games. So let's have a look at the Odyssey2 unit itself. Oh, this reminds me. I have a controller. It's broken. But I have another broken controller that's come on its way, and I should be able to mix the two pieces together and get them working. So, for now, I do have the two black controllers with the star in the middle, the awful star, because you go up, it's hard to move left and right. This is the good controller. I like the look of this controller way better, but this is the better to play with controller, because you go up, you can easily go left and right. It's just better. Yeah, what happened on mine, there will be another video on this. I'll probably do a little video on putting it together and fixing it, if I can, is there was a crack on the bottom of the shaft where this stick sits, and so it wouldn't move certain directions because the crack would just bend out and it wouldn't touch the contacts on the circuit board. And I tried to fix it and just made it worse. And so I might try fixing the bottom piece again on mine. Another thing too is the color of the bottom parts is pretty much the same. They're both black. The tops is different. But so if I really needed to, the top on my other controller, this part is still good. So I could put it on, say, this controller, and then I'd have two controllers with the good hole in the middle. It sounds weird, but yeah. So I could do that. Although I want to have some of each controller. So I have a nice complete set. These are a little dusty. But yes. So controllers have worked on being fixed. You notice on the Odyssey2 itself, I have the voice. I'll actually go ahead and pop this unit off. There we go. Yeah. And you want to know what makes the voice module even cooler? I have the box. This is something that I spent $50 on, and it was untested, but I went ahead and made a gamble, assuming that it probably worked, because I've been pretty lucky. I have not yet had an Odyssey2 thing that I bought that didn't work, except for the controller that I'm buying, but that's been labeled as not working. But yeah, so I got the box with it. And even cooler too is price sticker for $79.99. I think that's pretty cool. I don't think you guys, oh, maybe make out the numbers on there. And it's from, Sears. Yeah, I think that's cool. I have a few Odyssey 2 games in the rest of my collection that I have price stickers on them too. So we'll take a look at some of those in a moment. I'm not going to be plugging in and like playing anything. That'll be for another video. This box is a little beat up, but it's got really cool graphics. Easily fits your Odyssey 2. The voice of Odyssey. You type, it talks. Educational games. Realistic game effects. Help. Hello. Ask. Odyssey 2 speech and sound effects module. Yes. And you know, the Odyssey 2, it's not a game console. It's a microprocessor. Okay, yeah, it is a game console. Everyone calls it a game console. Most of the stuff for the Odyssey 2 is games. But, yeah. It's built as a microprocessor because they wanted it to be more of a full-on computer, and they wanted it to do more stuff and be educational, and not just be a game console like Atari was or any of the others were. And here's some blurb on the back that I will read. Interestingly enough, they show a few games on here, like they show the something from Quest for the Rings. That doesn't use the Odyssey 2 voice. Not very many stuff does. Also, someone colored in the lettering with a blue pen. I don't know why. They also scribbled all over this other sticker on the back here, which it looks like just a bunch of numbers. Might have been another price sticker, but anyways. Easily plugs into your Odyssey 2 console to add an important new dimension to the most advanced home video game system available. It talks. And that's actually a good point. Odyssey 2 was one of those things that was a little bit ahead of its time. And that's partly why it didn't succeed as well. So anyways, it talks. A tiny microprocessor contains the necessary allophones, parts of human speech, to speak English and many other languages. You've always been able to communicate with the Odyssey 2 microprocessor using the alphabet and number keyboard. And now the Odyssey 2 microprocessor can actually talk back to you when you use the new Voice Series cartridges. Hi, Mike. Right there, big. Hi, Mike. New Voice Series games. A whole new generation of arcade, education, and master strategy games really speak your language to bring you levels of excitement, drama, and realism far beyond any home video games you have ever played. And I think home video games is a very good point here, because some of the arcade machines were quite sophisticated in what they could do, and they had various sound effects and stuff built into them. But also keep in mind that a lot of the arcade systems were allowed to be bigger machines, and this was 1979 is when the Odyssey 2 came out. And the voice module came out, I forget when. But, I think 1980s is when this came out. So a lot of the consoles also were only handling a single game. So they could put all of their power into making that one game amazing. Anyways, Voice Series cartridges available now include Type and Tell, Sid the Spellbinder, and Nimble Numbers Ned. You'll be amazed how much time the family will spend on learning when they have a talking video game to keep them company. More exciting new games are on the way. The Odyssey 2 voice accepts every Odyssey 2 cartridge ever made, as well as the new generation of Voice Series games that really speak your language. So, this is a cool unit. It plugs into the cartridge port, and then it adds on an extra set of stuff to the Odyssey 2. So it's got its own dedicated speaker. You've got a volume control. It says the voice right there. Those are, I believe, just a heat ventilation on that side that lets them heat out. You got another little heat ventilation on the back there. Got a part number on a sticker there. Doesn't say any year. And it plugs into the Odyssey 2 just like that. Still have access to your power button in there. And It fits extremely nicely with the Odyssey 2. Honestly, it looks like it was just part of the original unit. I love that. Good design, Magnavox or Philips if you're outside of the US. Now, also, there's something that's extremely rare that I'd love to have in my collection if it actually works, is the chess module, which is a European-only thing. The chess module was actually, it had a cartridge that plugged into the cartridge port, and I had a wire coming out that went to a box about as big as the voice module here. And it would actually sit on top of your Odyssey 2. It looked different than this, not quite as integrated. What I'm curious to know is, can the chess module fit on top of the voice module? I'm curious about that. But yeah, so, let's see. Actually tilt the camera down just a little bit. The Odyssey 2 is a full alphanumeric keyboard, sort of, console. Plays games. It was built more as a computer, hence why it would say microprocessor. And it's not a full alphanumeric keyboard because it doesn't have all the symbols. There is some way that there's one game that uses all the symbols, game quote unquote, but yeah, really. This keyboard is a membrane keyboard, it's okay, but what I think would make the keyboard perfect, they just needed to add one more thing and then it'd be perfect. That one thing they need to add is an exclamation mark. There's actually two reasons behind this. One is for the video games that support typing in your high score, I would absolutely love being able to put an exclamation mark at the end of my name. You know, provided I'm not typing in a long name that's too long for the high score thing. But also for number two is, apparently when they were coming up with the marketing and advertising for the Odyssey 2, in a board meeting, I forget the name of the guy, but the people in that meeting seized upon the word explosive. And so you end up with exclamation marks on a whole lot of their games at the end of it. So like, I like this joke from Classic Game Room, a joke that Mark made, where you like, for the Atari, you have bowling. For the Odyssey 2, you have bowling! Anyways, let's take a look at my games. I am like 5 games away from having the entire American collection of Odyssey 2. I want to say North American, although I'm not entirely sure if that's correct or not. Let me just check. Okay, we're still good on the recording device. So, but because I think they had some slightly different games if you went into Canada. So I have all of my games organized by various categories. Most of them. This is most organized. This side's a little less organized. But they're not going to live in here forever. Eventually, I'll have this set up in my studio where it's really easy just to pull a game out of the thing, put it in, turn on the Odyssey 2, turn on the TV, and play. And the streaming setup's going to be pretty sweet too, because I should be able to capture a direct output from the Odyssey 2. That's going to be really sweet. It's not going to be a composite modded output, but I like my Odyssey 2 the way it is. I don't necessarily want to modify it in any way. And so, yeah, I have 1 to 4 players. That's these games here. So type and tell, although this is one that does use the Odyssey 2 voice. It's basically where you type out stuff and you have the computer repeat it back to you. You type, it talks. It's fun. It's pretty cool. You do have to use some weird spellings to get things right. Like, videos would be VIDZEOS. Otherwise, it says videos. We'll mess around with this at some point, and it'll be fun. Talks when you type, plays great games. Yeah, sort of. I mean, let me give you an example of some of the games that this cartridge does. Because there's only so many games that you can do with the thing where you type out stuff and it repeats speech back to you. And the cool thing about this is you can actually edit text. You can go back and forth, insert a space, delete stuff, type over. It's got full-on text editing. Not as elegant as a more modern computer, but it can do it. So there's stuff about typing. We want to get to the games, not just the typing and stuff. We'll cover this more if we ever play a video on this. But so garble. Garble is where you type out stuff and it sounds like things like this. Here, let me get up and show you what I mean. Uh-oh. CDB? DBSABZB. ONSDD. I forget what ONSDD is. But you type those out separately, and it sounds like, uh-oh. See the B? The B is a busy bee. Or, you are a cutie. Are you CP? Yes, I am. I am too. I am before you. Then you can have it make sound effects. So this is kind of fun, although I wouldn't call it a game. You type in stuff and it makes sound things. And you fill the matrix with one letter and you make sounds. And then you can have it be a superstar. And so you use it to record for your VHS movies and your audio tapes. And you can make robot sounds and have robots talking in your movies. So then it's like the voice of the Odyssey. Whatever that's supposed to sound like. I don't know. Professor Hillary, the spaceship, it's landing. Professor Hillary, its doors opening. Take me to your leader. Yeah. Then you get War of Words. This is essentially a game where you're like typing out sentences, and you can only add words before or after the word's already in the sentence. And then whenever a sentence goes over the allotted space on the screen, the person who didn't make it go over wins. Or if you are able to finish a sentence with filling up the whole screen and adding a period at the end, and there's no more room to modify the sentence, you win. It's a word game. Kind of dumb. The main reason I think that's kind of dumb is the computer doesn't have any way of actually keeping track of any score with that, or actually enforcing those rules. So you might as well just go play that with a pen and paper. Or any other word editor, really. So it's fun to have it talk to you, but the other stuff I wouldn't necessarily call a game. But you can have technically as many players as you want with that one. It's 1 to 4. Thunderball, it's basically pinball. Exclamation mark. It's actually a 1 to 4 player game. Computer golf is also actually a 1 to 4 player game. Here's another one here too. This is a disappointment. $22.95 for a. Hang on 1 second here. I'm just going to just want to share this quickly. Sweet. And then pop it on to vibrate. There we go. So was $22.95. Now it's $19.97. Which I'm going to do some sort of video on this. I might even make a little YouTube short on this because this could be really popular. But so $19.97 was how much this cost from Sam Solomon Company. And actually, oh wow, suggested retail was like $27.95 it looks like. And they were selling it for $22.95. But now it's $19.97. So you know something? A modern game would cost about $70 is an average expecting price for a modern AAA game. Convert this currency into today's money, $70. Here is Demon Attack. This one's actually foreign, although they did have a US version of Demon Attack, and it works in the US. And I was pretty confident it would, because I remember LGR once got an Australian copy of Pickaxe Pete, which over in foreign countries it is known as Didi Namina Encantada, which means that Didi, he's a famous comedian, is trapped in an enchanted mine, or as it's Didi in the Enchanted Mine, but as LGR put it, sorry, not LGR, Classic Game Room, as he put it, they trapped their famous comedian Didi in a mine to smash rocks. So, this one is Brazilian. There's the cart. I like this case. It's pretty sturdy. This game is actually relatively fun. It's a good arcade-style game. I've played it a bit. I'm just trying to remember. I might not be able to because I can't read any of this. I know poquito español, which is a little different than Portuguese. But so I don't remember if that was just a good place for it, or if it actually had 4 players. I think it does have 4 players, although I don't remember specifically. It's been a while since I've touched my Odyssey 2. That's why I'm looking forward to my studio, because then I'll be able to have this setup where I can easily just play a game anytime I want to. Whereas right now I have to like pull the Odyssey 2 out of the thing, set it up on a chair next to the couch, plug it into the wall power, make sure everything's hooked up right on the TV, and then from there I can then I can sit down and play a game. Which, I mean, if I had people wanting to play with me, I might do it a little more often too. But, you know. So, electronic table soccer. This one's only 2-player, I believe. Let me check my... So here I have 1 or 2 players going this way. 2 players is this way. I think these belong with the 2-player stuff. Table soccer is... true-to-life replica of a large tournament soccer table is one of the most intriguing electronic games ever designed. You need instant reflexes and swift hand-eye coordination to score against the computer or another player. Invisible electronic lightning rods give you control over individual ranks of men who automatically reverse flip whenever the ball changes direction. Computerized scoring, full sync sound action, 1 or 2 players. So this one can be controlled by a computer for one of the players, or you play 2-player. P.T. Barnum's Acrobats, I believe, can be a 2-player game at one time. That's the thing. Some of these games, you're just rotating around, taking turns, and passing the 2 controllers around. Some of them, you actually have more than 1 player playing at once. Pocket Billiards. This is really lame. I remember I played it once, and I was very disappointed. It's also one of my nicer boxes for the Odyssey 2. And this emphasizes why a lot of the boxes get so in the condition they are and so bent on this one side. Is it's actually, well, this one was okay, but some of them, they were really nice condition, but it was kind of tricky to get the cartridge out of the box. So, there's Pocket Billiards. I'm not going to show every one of these in this video. Monkey Shines. This one is really fun. Fun game to play on Funky Monkey Friday. Which I didn't know was a thing until recently. Like, actually, no. Go back 4 months now, maybe, and then that's when I heard about Funky Monkey Friday from a coworker. But this is actually a really fun game. I like it a lot. It's one of the few games where I'm like, wow, that's fun. I would totally want to play it again as a game. Almost the same levels I want to play a modern game, but I haven't played it much because set up the Odyssey 2 is a little tricky, but it's fun. This one can have 2 players at once. I know, up to 3. Because 1 person would use the keyboard to do fun stuff. Killer Bees. This one... Oh, voice enhancement, yeah. And that's the thing. A lot of the sound effects that the voice module does, they're not the beeps and boops you hear on your computer. I think they're actual recorded sounds that have been plugged into this. That's pretty cool. This one's fun. This one's only 1 player at a time, but you can easily alternate. It's a fun arcade-style game. This is one that I kind of forget that I have, but you got Mathemagic and Echo, an electronic arithmetic teacher, a brain-draining mind-bending mental gymnastics challenge. That's basically like the the little Simon Says game where you tap the colored flashing lights. It's like that. Those are some of the new games that I've got. Um, here's a Dowlings for 1998. Let's actually. In my new setup, I won't have to take some games out to get to other games. Yeah, 1998 for that Dowlings. This is football. This is one that I've had for a while, but then I didn't have the manual for it, and so now I finally have the manual for it, and I've gotten rid of my extra football. Which, something funny, I don't know how this happened, but in one of the game lots that I bought, I ended up having a basketball cart inside of a UFO box. I have no idea how that happened. But, yeah, so I'm just going to quickly run down some of the other games that I have. Actually, I want to show this one really quickly. Wait. That's... Okay, everything's correct. Pachinko! This one's kind of fun. It's less like a regular pachinko machine like you'd find in China, which is basically a combination of gambling and pinball. But it is fun nonetheless. You can have two people playing at once on that one. And so, yeah, where is... Looking for War of Nerves right here. Man. Oh, and by the way, just cardboard inserts. That's what these things look like for telling what games are. This game is under the 1 or 2 player game because it technically can be played with 1 player, but it's kind of dumb because there's generals and the computer doesn't control its general. It just has the other robots running. But I recognize the limitations of the system there. TUVW. I think it goes here. Might have been in the wrong spot. If I put something back in the wrong spot, that's okay. These are supposed to be organized by, they're organized by how many players, and then by alphabet from there. So, that goes back there. Anything else that I want to show in this section? Not really. So, I do have baseball in here too. I play that. That's kind of fun. So you got Blockout and Breakdown, Bowling and Basketball, Freedom Fighters, Football, Invaders from Hyperspace, Out of This World, Helicopter Rescue. 2 games on 1 cart. That's what all the books like to tout. Showdown in 2100 AD. That's fun. Pachinko, Speedway, Spin Out, and Cryptologic. 3 games on 1 cart. Matchmaker, Logics, and Buzzword. Take the Money and Run. Smithereens. This one's a fun game, and actually I will show you this one because this one uses the voice module. Voice enhanced. So this will talk to you, and it has some sound effects that the computer is not capable of making with the microprocessor doing its beeps and boops. And that is a fun game too. So then War of Nerves. So those are the 1 or 2 player games. Then, or no, sorry. Yeah, those are 1 or 2 player. Then we got 2 player over here. Armored Encounter and Subchase. Alpine Skiing. That one you actually kind of could play as 1 person, but then the other skier's not doing anything. Baseball, definitely 2 players. You can't play with 1 person. Computer does not take control. Dynasty. That one's... Wait, whoops. What? Dynasty's in the wrong spot. I'm going to fix that. Yeah, Dynasty's not supposed to be over there. And by the way, I've had Dynasty before, but the box was really beat up. So this is a nicer box copy. Essentially, if I get rid of any of my games that I already have to get other ones, it's because they're nicer copy. But most of these are nice enough that I won't need to do that. So flip that around. Because Dynasty can be played against the computer, or Dynasty can be played against another person. And the computer is relatively challenging, at least at my skill level. So Armored Encounter and Subchase, those are definitely 2 player games, unless you want the other player to do nothing. We had Alpine Skiing, we got Baseball, 2 player, And then hockey and soccer, also 2-player only games. Those are I find it kind of fun. Although soccer they're basically the same game, except for soccer all the players huddle together. But then you get a chance where you can get the players stuck, and then you can't finish the game. So, while we're on this section, I'll quickly mention the worst game out of here is Out of This World for how it's built. Oh, actually, I need to do these really quickly. So that's the worst game for how it's built. Oh, goodness. Where did... Now something's missing. Oh, I see. It fell down. There we go. But then there is also something with a maze. What's that one maze? Take the Money and Run's a pretty boring game. I've never beat Take the Money and Run, and it's a 2-player game. Well, you can play 1 player. It's under 1 or 2. Yeah. That one's more legitimate 1 or 2-player game as opposed to something like the show... something like the War of Nerves, which is, I feel, more a 2-player game. So, then in the 1 to 4-player games, you have Type and Tell, only sort of a game. Thunderball, Computer Golf. I put Demon Attack there. I think it is a 4-player, possibly. Monkey Shines, Pocket Billiards, P.T. Barnum's Acrobats, and Electronic Table Soccer. And these, I believe, fall under 1 player, but there wasn't room for them in their section. Mathemagic and Echo, those are definitely 1 player. Killer Bees, you can alternate. The cool thing is it'll just use whatever controller starts moving. That's pretty sweet. So then, we'll breeze through this section, and then I'll end the stream. And then, later on, we can do another stream. People can ask questions. And, of course, in the future, I'll actually play these games. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, over here we have the 1-player section. Alien Invaders Plus. That's basically, is it Alien? Whatever? Space Invaders? Yeah, Space Invaders clone. Fun game. It's a hard game. So I won't say that it's entirely fun. It's one that I find a little more frustrating. Cosmic Conflict. Message from Star Command. This is a game that gets a little bit confused a lot, especially if you look at the cartridge, where it says 2076 Star Command. Ooh, I need to glue this box too. That's not a game. That's just what the packaging on the cartridge says for Cosmic Conflict. That's a fun game. I played a bunch of that. Attack of the Time Lord. This game uses the voice. It's really extremely challenging. I have never beat this game, and it's going to be a while before I ever do. I might not ever beat it, because it has 256 different challenging levels. I remember one time I played a maze game that had so many levels, and it was a little broken, and there was like not a way to skip back to the level that you were at. It was like a maze game that just kept on going and going and going and going. It was made with Game Maker and going. I probably played easily 70 levels of that, and then I got stuck, and there was no way to like reset or fix anything, and I'm like, I give up. I might try that game again in the future if I ever find it again, but this just made me feel a bit like that. So then, Casey's Crazy Chase. This game is only 1 player at a time, but of course you can take turns with it. This one's fun. It has voice enhancement. It also lets you, It also lets you build maps for it. That's fun. Same thing with Casey Munchkin. This one's interesting because it ended up being part of a slight lawsuit. Because it's a similar game to Pac-Man, but there are enough differences with it that technically it could be counted as not a Pac-Man clone. But a lot of different retailers were actually marketing this as it's just like Pac-Man. And Atari didn't like that. So Odyssey pulled it from shelves, and Casey only ever saw 2 games. By the way, the second one is part of their challenge. Actually, no, both of them are part of their Challenger series. I love the different coloring on that. Challenger series just means it's more challenging, fun, and supposedly educational a little bit too, maybe. Then we have Pickaxe Pete, known foreignly as Didi Namina Enkentara. This game's actually pretty fun. It's a platformer fun game. Then we have UFO, another single-player game. This one's kind of like Asteroids, but a little different and fun. Yeah, I'll say more about each of these games whenever I play them on streams and stuff. Matchmaker, Logics, and Buzzword. This one's supposed to be in with the 1 or 2 player game, because like you can work together to solve the Logics number puzzle or the Buzzword puzzle, and Matchmaker can be played with 1 player or you can play with 2 players. Also, I'm gonna copy a joke from Classic Game Room. All credit goes to Mark, but I really like this. It's just so funny, and it really explains, or it highlights this game. Logics. This game's actually kind of fun. Correct numbers in proper position, scoring indicator, numbers selected. You did it. You did what? But if you really read the instructions here, it's deductive logic to try and figure out the number sequence that the computer has picked. I'll talk about that more in another game. So, all these games are pretty fun. This one's also from Hall's TV, 1995 is the price. I like some of these games. Maybe not as fun as some of the others. I'm not much for brain games, but they are nice and fun, and they do have some educationalness to them. That's great. You've got Volleyball here. This is another one of my really nice boxes. In fact, this one will demonstrate. It's really, really nice. So getting the card out is a little difficult sometimes, and I see why the boxes end up getting bent to the side like that. Volleyball is 2-player only, I think. Yeah, I forget. I think it's 2-player only. It might be playable against the computer. That one's kind of fun. I played it once. Let's see. We need to leave those out so we can get to the stuff beneath them. But first, Sid the Spellbinder. This one's a 1-player only game. It's weird. It has... So there's 2 books with this. I'm lucky to have both of them, I think. So you've got the Spellbinder word book, and then you've got Sid the Spellbinder official rules. The word book is basically a story about Sid the Spellbinder, who's a centipede thingy, caterpillar, whatever. This story is about Sid the Spellbinder. Sid was slithering about the house. He looked up at the clock. There was something surprising about it. It was already about time for the school bus. And they have the different words in here highlighted. And then over here, it explains what the different words mean in their context. So you've got various contexts for the word about, like of, concerning and regarding to, in or somewhere near, connected, associated with, near, close to, on the verge or point of, concerned with, engaged in doing, near in distance, time, number, etc., nearby, almost, nearby, not far, halfway around, in the opposite direction, nearly, approximate. I think that's pretty cool. I've never specifically remember reading anything like this where it had the words listed out like that for figuring out the context. But still, it's pretty cool. But the weird thing is, this story is about Sid going to school and having a good time and telling a teacher about a story with his cat. And we'll read this at some point. But the weird thing is, then when you actually play the game, let me just read you on the back of the box. Sid the Spellbinder. Here's the action of fast-moving arcade game combined with the excitement of a talking spelling game. The voice of Odyssey2 says the word, and the player types in the letters to spell it correctly. Good spelling earns the ammunition needed to foil Sid the Spellbinder, who keeps trying to prevent championship scores. Includes spellbinding storybook that helps players get to know all the meanings and uses of the words they learn to spell. 2 skill levels. Play only with the Voice of Odyssey 2 module. Odyssey 2. The keyboard is the key to greater game excitement. Which in some ways it is. So, here you've got this fun-loving looking Sid the Spellbinder worm caterpillar thingy. He's happy. He at least seems like a friendly guy. But then... Sure enough, giant Sid the Spellbinder snakes across your screen. Your only defense is I forget what is it. There was something in here where he was trying to stop, like, maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I thought somewhere in here it was saying that he was trying to stop the champion scores Yeah, championship scores from the what's it called? From the spelling bee. But no. So first, Sid's happy and he's going to school and he's our friend, and next you're shooting at him? What? That's a little weird. The game itself is kind of fun. If you don't mind, Spell says. S-A-Y-S. Correct. And then monster, attack. And then you shoot Sid down. Why is this not going back in the box right? So it's fun, but it's also a little quirky. I like it. I like it quite a bit. Okay. So, there we go. Put back. Oh, yeah, we need to get... So, I have 2 games that are not a game. One of them pretends to be a game. Keyboard Creations. This one I think is fascinating because it talks about how you could use the Odyssey 2 to make some fancy messages. And then you pair this with a TV that you put in your shop window and you can advertise stuff. But this is very similar to the Type and Tell game, where a lot of the games in here involve the limitations of how many characters can fit on the screen and you typing out stuff for... and then whenever someone finishes the sentence, it's game over. This one lets you use a bunch of other symbols as well that the keyboard doesn't include. You can spell out messages and use them in your VHS tape videos for like 9th birthday. They've got like the Great Hall for the different transition or titles for the different chapters and videos and stuff. Happy anniversary, you got business advertisements and stuff like that. Special today, just in 3 something, and you can have them like just in 3 new Odyssey games, and you can like have them flash different stuff, so it'll display one message and then every once in a while flash a second message. It's pretty cool, the capabilities you're able to program with this thing, but I wouldn't really call the games on here games, because again, you don't really need the computer to play those games. You could just do them with a pen and paper. So I think they're kind of lame. There's one game on here, however, that is not a game. Computer Intro. Pretty lucky. I've had this for a while. Then eventually I got the box. Then eventually I got the thick instruction manual. And then eventually I traded that. I bought another one and sold my first one. This is pretty cool because it has some neat photographs of old computers in here. I want to be a little careful not to break my pages of this thick book. Like, yeah, there's some neat pictures of the computers and stuff in there. Chinese man using an abacus. The Babbage computer. It's also got these neat foldouts that are like key codes and how your computer works. So this is actually a programming course for the Odyssey 2 and the 8048 microprocessor, which the microprocessor is a predecessor to a CPU. If I remember correctly, microprocessors had predefined set of instructions that they could do, whereas CPUs are more versatile and can work with just about anything. And that actually reminds me of one great thing that makes the Odyssey 2 a little better, quote-unquote, than other systems, a little easier, is it had a lot of built-in graphics for things. So let me go to the back of this book and show you. And because the graphics were built in, you were then able to you were then able to just call the graphics on hand. There you go. There's a table site of the built-in graphics for the Odyssey 2. So you could custom build your own graphics for games, which some games did, but you could also just rely on a subset, all of these graphics right here, making programming a little bit easier. And that's why a lot of games tend to have the same characters. You've also got programming stuff in the back here, where you have, yeah, that many pages where you can write in programs. Mine's empty, sadly. I mean, that makes it probably higher value. I don't know. Maybe it'd be higher value if it had code in here. But there are actually some photos online where someone has code written in one that I want to sometime when I do a video on this type out. I've gone through part of this programming course, but I want to finish it out at some point, and I'll probably do that as a video so you guys can join me along for programming. If anybody sees this, one question I have is on the first program where you make the blocks move around, is it possible to have a different sound? I don't know. That's something that we'll figure out at some point. The other thing, too, about this is it's really cool how they have a lot of predictions about modern computers in here, too. In the beginning, we'll read that later on, where it is the first digital computer, Charles Babbage, talks about problems with it. Today, everything that ENAC could do and far more is performed by a device slightly smaller in size, less than 1/4 of an inch square, and can make more than 1 million electronic decisions every second. It's called a semiconductor. If computer technology continues to develop at its present rate, one of these chips will be able to store about 250,000 bits, the smallest unit of computer information. Its memory within a few years, in its memory within a few years, 10 years from this point, there will be chips capable of remembering 1,000,000 bits of information. By 1990, the number of logic decisions making computer circuits on these 1/4 inch chips are expected to number 250,000. Today's large computers selling in the $1 million range and as big as several filing cabinets contain only about 100 logic. Where is it? As microprocessor technology progresses, computers may be developed that understand human speech. They have. It's even possible that they can be taught to read handwriting. Yes, they have. The microprocessor in your Odyssey2 is infinitely more sophisticated than the mathematical marvels that were the state of the art in the 40s and 50s. Technology and microprocessors are unquestionably going to revolutionize the way the world works and the way you live. A computer will control your car's automatic transmission and fuel injection system. A computer will monitor fire and burglar alarm systems in your home. The lights in your home will be computerized. So will the locks on the doors and windows. They just got so much stuff right in here. It's amazing. And if you watch videos from like the 50s and 70s about computers in the future, like imagine an old wood grain CRT TV, but a man's having a business call split screened with 4 other people on there. Wow. I think those videos are fascinating with how spot on they got how computers were going to be in the future, but yet how retro it was. I would love to see someone actually build like a 1950s, 60s, maybe 1970s retro looking system that actually does modern stuff, but it looks the same way they did in those retro videos. So computer intro is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to doing a fun video series where we go through and learn programming for it and actually do it. Because any videos on this, it just shows the shapes moving around the screen. It doesn't specifically make it obvious that this is a programming course and not a game. So literally not a game. Whoops. Let's see. That's not part of my Odyssey2. That's some other stuff, some hardware, some screws for this drawer that it's in. Here we have some booklets for the Odyssey2 and a card from someone who has who I bought a game from. Game Freaks 2009. They got Yoshi on their card there. And a weird calendar on the back for 2013. Something interesting. I tried looking them up again because I figured if they have more Odyssey2 games, I'll buy from them again. They're not on eBay as far as I could tell when I looked them up. Here's 2 fun little books. These are nicer condition copies than I've seen other. I had duplicates of these that I sold. These are just game catalogs. We'll spend a little bit of time looking through and reading some of these at some point. I have most of the games in the catalog here. These are also a good highlight for some of the differences between game catalogs during the years. I also wouldn't mind getting some of the print manuals or like the posters that Odyssey2 had. Back in the day, I totally would have been one of those kids that was part of the Odyssey2 club and had their magazine. Sounds so much fun that I could possibly get my high score listed in their magazine. Wow. Games have come a long way since then. So, the last little section of Odyssey2 stuff, and then I'll end this. The last 3 games that I have. Quest for the Rings. This is one thing I love about the Odyssey2. And the Odyssey 1 even had a couple of games that took advantage of this system, which we have the Odyssey 1, but it doesn't work. These games have game pieces and game boards. Woohoo! I've played this one, it's fun. They also have an overlay for the keyboard so that you know which buttons do what kind of stuff on your keyboard. I like how this is a nice, it's like the laminated, almost plasticky piece. And then, of course, they have the instruction manual, too. And really great artwork. It's fun. Quest for the Rings is basically a game where you play as a bunch of different Lord of the Rings mythical type heroes, and you have to go around and gather all of the rings, or you're going to what's the word? Or you lose. It's fun. It requires minimum of 3 people to actually play the full-on board game. This one came out in 1981, so I don't know when the movies came out, but I assume the books were out by then. Because this is very obviously, oops, this little thing came off, needs to be glued back on. This is very obviously a Lord of the Rings style game. That one's fun. Next we have Conquest of the World. I haven't played this one yet, but I'm positive. Well, I played the video game element of it. My box is a little beat up. These are slightly more rare, more expensive. Ooh, heavy too. Because you got all of these tokens. This is my second version of this. Second copy. The other one I sold, it was missing a bunch of pieces. But you got magnets, and you got all of these like money tokens and stuff. And of course you have the game cart. The boxes for these are well designed. I like that. Good job. Good job, Magnavox. Well, maybe. Can I get this closed again? We'll see. Come on. There we go. Oops. Didn't mean to dump the card out like that, but there we go. It fits. Then, oh. Popped open again. Well, then you have your very nice game board. These feel like quality game boards I've ever seen. It's a map of the world. It's got different countries. Of course, the manual. This game is essentially just like, if you think about like Risk or other war games like that. What game do they I forget what other game they mention in here. But essentially, it's like playing Risk. But then you have computerized battles. And yeah, really cool artwork again. There's a submarine, there's a tank, and there's an airplane. And you have different battles from different countries fighting with these different vehicles. I like how they make the stuff look like the future too. Like, check out that future-looking airplane and future-looking tank and future-looking submarine. So this game I know is going to be fun. And that's pretty sweet. And then the final game that I have here is actually a pretty boring game.
I'm going to be
and
doing the calculator thing.
It's one of the I would say it's definitely better than the other 2 games I mentioned earlier that were boring. But it's also like the game itself, the Great Wall Street Fortune Hunt. How do you make Wall Street fun? You don't. Although one of my coworkers has mentioned that this sounds really fun. He loves strategy games. Also, this one has cardboard insert, which looks old enough that it was probably part of the game when it came out. You got the game. This one also, when I got it, it was like, still had some pieces in their packages. So it's got all the pieces there. It's new. Got these actual solid metal tokens. It's, I don't know. It's as well built as the others. Got the Great Wall Street Fortune Hunt manual. The investment record, which mine is empty. So I've made a photocopy of this. They say you can do that, but I'm keeping my book empty. I don't know that I really used it. It's got some numbers there for you. You've got a second investment record for your second player. More people can play, you just have to take turns. I played this once all by myself, and then I played it with my mom once. And then finally, the board game here. What is this? This is the stock market simulator. It's actually pretty boring. And I think the full entire game takes 2 hours to play. And you're literally just buying and selling stocks, like the stock market on your TV screen. And then it will flash things like, foot massagers increase work morale, and then stocks go up. Yeah, it's kind of boring, honestly. Great artwork again. And I've only played level 1 of this game too, which technically the levels in this game aren't really levels as much as they are when you've mastered all those skills, Then you can add a whole bunch of more complicated stock market skills to your gameplay and play level 2. And when you've mastered that, then you can add another set of complicated stock market gameplay stuff to it. So anyways, there's a little look at my Odyssey 2 collection. We'll do more videos on this in the future, and we'll do to tune in and actually, stuff. It is a pretty fun system, and definitely I get them to play. I don't get them to have on a shelf, which is why I have no use for these things. Yeah, there'll be more stuff on this in the future. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in whatever's next.